Web Application Firewall or WAF. In this section, first we'll understand what is Web Application Firewall, WAF benefits and features, WAF modes, detection and prevention mode, and finally configuration of WAF policy. So we'll end up this session with the practical demonstration, right? But let's first understand what is Web Application Firewall. So WAF or Web Application Firewall provides centralized protection of your web applications from common exploits and vulnerabilities. So WAF is basically application layer firewall, right? And in Azure cloud, we cannot use WAF as a stand-alone service or product, or it is not basically stand-alone offering. WAF is always used in conjunction with either application gateway load balancer or front door. Front door is another load balancer available in Azure. So in Azure total there are 4 different load balancer. One is like traffic manager, that is similar to your F5 big IP DNS, intelligent DNS. Load balancer very similar to LTM, but operates up to layer 4 of CCIE model, like no upper layer inspection, right? And application gateway load balancer, front door, they both operate up to layer 7 of CCIE model, and that is the reason WAF or WAF policy can be integrated either with the application gateway load balancer or Azure front door, right? So WAF is basically application layer firewall, protection from SQL or SQL injection attack, cross-site scripting attack, right? So here you can see client request. Here's like gateway, and gateway has been associated with the WAF policy, right? Application gateway plus WAF. So if you are familiar with F5 big IP, LTM and ASM are WAF, right? There are 2 different software blades, local traffic manager and application security manager are WAF, right? So what happens in F5 big IP? If there is ASM policy, right, means ASM bleed is also provision activated with LTM. So what happens? First, like HTTP request is checked whether request is legal, valid or not. If legal, valid, then only it is handed over to LTM for load balancing and some other local traffic management operations, right? And if request, HTTP request is illegal, invalid, then there is no point of doing load balancing there, right? So in F5 big IP also, if both software blades, both modules, LTM and ASM, provision to either same virtual or hardware platform, so here again first like HTTP request is checked whether request is valid or not, legal or not, and then only internally it is handed over to LTM. Same like happens here whenever any HTTP request hits like gateway, and gateway has WAF policy, right? So WAF policy will kick in first, will check whether request is valid or not, right? And how it is done. So WAF is basically, it has like signature of common known attacks, right? So signatures are used to identify whether request is legitimate or illegitimate, valid or invalid, right? If valid, then only application gateway will perform load balancing. Valid request, then yes, forwarded. Invalid request, not forwarded, right? So benefits of WAF: protect your web application from attacks, right? Protect your web application from malicious bots, IP reputation, rule list, WASP top 10 of course, open web application security project top 10. Okay, monitor attacks against your web application by using a real-time WAF log. So even WAF logs is integrated with the Azure Monitor. Even application gateway load balancer logs can be forwarded to log analytic workspace. We can use Microsoft Sentinel for alerts, right? That is also possible at advanced level. Protect multiple web applications at the same time. An instance of application gateway can host up to 40 websites that are protected by your WAF. So multi-site hosting is supported by even application gateway load balancer. So we can host multiple websites using same IP, same port number, right? But obviously different domain names, as we do in F5 WAF or on any server. Okay. Common features, so SQL or SQL injection protection, cross-site scripting protection against HTTP protocol anomalies like missing host, user isn't, right? If someone is trying to access the web application using maybe a Fiddler or Bob Suite, not common browser like Chrome, Firefox, Edge, right? Or maybe if user isn't is missing, then of course WAF will treat that request as illegal, because commonly Fiddler, Bob Suite or any other software or maybe Tor browser used by hackers, attackers, right? So WAF knows that very well. If user isn't is missing, there is no user isn't, means request cannot be treated as legal request. And if a request is illegal and web policy is in protection mode, then immediately request is blocked. And if web policy is in detection mode, then logs generated, right? Geo filter based traffic, yes, that is also possible. Protect your web application from bots, correct? And in Azure there are two different modes, right? And I'm going to show you practically detection and prevention mode. So whenever we deploy or spin up application gateway load balancer, right? Application gateway load balancer. So if we use like at the time of deploying application gateway load balancer, if we select like the WAF, means gateway load balancer with the WAF policy, then at the same time WAF policy is created, a new WAF policy is created, and default mode would be detection mode, right? Means monitors and logs all threat alerts. But at any point in time we can change the mode. We can switch between both detection and prevention mode. As a best practice, day one, of course, you should not put the policy in prevention mode, whether it's F5 WAF or Impera or maybe Azure or any other WAF. At least 7 days should be your like monitoring mode or prevention mode, right? After doing a thorough analysis, monitoring, working on the logs, then only we should change the mode from prevention to detection to prevention mode. So initial 7 days detection mode. Detection means monitoring. In F5 we call it transparent, and then after we should change the mode to protection or prevention mode, right? So in Azure, like we call it detection and prevention mode. In other like web application firewalls, you may find protection mode, and here maybe not detection, monitoring or transparent or logging mode, right? Depends like whether you are working on F5 WAF or 40 WAF, that is Fortinet product, and there are some other vendors also, right? So basically I'm going to show you how easy it is in Azure cloud, right? You don't have to be very expert in, because WAF policy is by default created. Simply we can create custom rule, or we can change the mode from detection to prevention, prevention to detection. If we want to disable like a set of signatures, we can do that, right? So very limited settings, very limited options in Azure cloud. Not very much to do here, right, for the administrator. Alright, so let me take it to Azure portal and show you like how we can do the practical demonstration. Alright, so here like in Azure Cloud already application gateway, load balancer, application gateway load balancer is already deployed in the cloud, in the Azure, right? In the backend pool there is only one server, basically it's a Windows 10 machine, right? And I have installed XAMPP software to run a vulnerable web application here, already running here, application gateway configured with the front end IP. And I hope you understand how to deploy, and I assume you understand how to deploy application gateway load balancer in Azure, right? So mainly I'm just focusing on WAF policy, not like deploying application gateway load balancer. Even application gateway load balancer deployment may take 20 to 30 minutes, right? And in order to deploy application gateway load balancer, there should be a dedicated subnet. You cannot have like your backend servers and gateway both in the same subnet. Okay, so I assume you understand how to deploy application gateway load balancer for practical demonstration purpose. And to save the time, already I have spinned up a Windows 10 machine running application, vulnerable application DVWA, right? And as I mentioned before, whenever we deploy application gateway load balancer, and if we select SQ like a WAF, right? So at the same time WAF policy is created, but in detection mode, of course. So if we want to access application, right, hosted here on the backend server, so what we generally do, we access with the front end IP. So front end IP is basically virtual IP. So virtual IP here is known as front end IP. So how do we access backend application? With the help of front end IP, virtual IP address, means IP address assigned to the application gateway load balancer, right? So we client request hits front end IP. Now here application gateway, if has like web policy, so signatures are matched, web policy will kick in, right? And if request is invalid and the web policy is in prevention mode, so what happens? Request is denied, right? There is no point of directing that request to the backend server or pool member. If request is legal, right, even though like policy is in prevention mode, if request is legal, nothing has been found, no like SQL code, no cry-side scripting, nothing has been found inside HTTP header, right? Even user agent is not missing, even there is no like twice host field here, everything is up to the mark, request is valid, then request is handed over to application gateway load balancer. And of course, if there is only one server, then request is straightaway directed to the server. In case if multiple servers, multiple pool members, then load balancing algorithm will choose the backend pool member, right? So already here, if I show you, then there is one virtual machine here. It is web server 1, right? Web server 1 is the virtual machine, Windows 10. And if I show you application gateway load balancer, application gateway load balancer already deployed here. And if you look at the tier, so tier is WAF version 2, right? That supports auto scaling. However, auto scaling, I think only one instance is running, and because I can see here availability zone only one, and here like we could find front end public IP. So 4.240.95.106 is the front end IP, means virtual IP address assigned to the application gateway. And you understand like application gateway load balancer means reverse proxy architecture, right? If already you have covered my F5 ASM training, So you must be knowing everything about WAF in detail, right? So here like just I'm trying to show you like how we can and how easily we can create and configure WAF policy in Azure cloud, right? In detail for the in-depth learning of ASM, understanding WAF in detail, refer F5 ASM course, right? Already I have covered everything there in F5 ASM or F5 WAF. So here you will find the front-end IP 4.240.95.106. Now if I want to access backend application, then with this IP address I can access. And what about let me show you another point here, and that is configuration. So you can see here inside, so here application gateway front-end listener is created. There is one routing rule, and routing rule is just to map like front-end IP with the backend pool. So this is proper configuration already done here. And what about the WAF policy, like web application firewall policy? As I said before, whenever we like deploy web application firewall and we select tier WAF, then WAF policy is created. Even like WAF policy can be created separately and be associated with application gateway load balancer or front door, right? Because in Azure total there are 4 load balancers. Out of 4, 2 load balancers, one is DNS based, that is traffic manager intelligent DNS, very similar to a 5 big IP DNS or GTM. Another one is just a load balancer or network load balancer that operates up to layer 4 or 4 side model. So you understand WAF means layer 7 application firewall. So application firewall cannot be associated with a load balancer that operates up to layer 4 or 4 side model, right? Makes sense? Because WAF means layer 7, so your load balancers should be layer 7 load balancer operating up to layer 7 of OSI model. Your load balancer should be able to inspect data found in layer 7 header, that is HTTP header, and that's the reason WAF policy can be associated attached with application gateway load balancer or front door, right? Because they both operate up to layer 7 of OSI model. Alright, so WAF policy here, and one important point, by default mode here you can see policy mode detection. Policy mode is detection. Anytime we can switch to prevention mode, but for now it's detection mode, right? Means logs or alerts generated, but no prevention, no protection at all. What about managed rule and policy settings? So you can change the policy from here also. Enforce maximum request body limit, file upload limit, right, as per the requirement. And here we find managed rules. So here you find like WAF 3_3.2 rule 186 signature, right? So you can search and you can specifically disable or enable any signature. Like you can see a SQL injection attack detection, right? So simply you can select and then you can go to action and change the action from here, and if you want to disable then straight away you can disable or enable from here, right? So a particular signature can be disabled or enabled. If not required, then better like just turn off, disable. And here like it is stating policy mode is set to detection, right? So let's see what happens without changing anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to access backend server, Windows server, but not with his server IP address, with the front end IP address of application gateway load balancer, right? Okay, so yes, it is accessible. Let me change DVWS security mode. Already it is in low. And what about SQL code injection attack? So let's perform some injection attack, and you can see here like even though like there is WAF attached with the application gateway load balancer, but code injection attack is successful, right? We can see here username and the password, And why it is so? Because WAF policy mode is detection mode, right? So in order to prevent from like SQL code injection attack, cross-site scripting attack, or WAF top 10, simply what we can do, we can go to this overview section and switch to prevention mode. So now WAF policy is in prevention mode, right? So what will happen now, if policy is in prevention mode, means SQL code injection, cross-site scripting, or any other like maybe missing user agent using Fiddler or any other like software to access web applications, of course not be allowed. And we are going to see that. So updated the WAF policy, successfully updated. I'm back here and okay, and see you. Microsoft Azure Application Gateway forbidden 403. So code injection attack cannot be done now. Here like we do have option to create custom rules. So in case if we want to create any custom rule, so WAF maybe WAF rule 1 underscore is not allowed here, no underscore. Rule type match and priority, only one rule, so I can start with one, and condition match condition, and what all options we have: IP address, number string, and geolocation, right? So even you can restrict access to your web application from a specific geolocation. If you know like your business is in US, India, or any other specific country, you don't want like anyone to access your web application, so you can put restriction here. So just for the demonstration purpose, I'm selecting IP address, but you can see here like we can select number string and geolocation. Does contain or does not contain. So does contain, and what is my IP address? So here is my IP address. Let me put that in. So IP address here. So now what action we want? Deny traffic, right? So this custom rule is to deny access to the application if request is coming with this IP address, right? So this way we can create, and there are pending changes, save to apply. Click here to save the custom rule. Now if I try to access with the IP mentioned here in the rule, then even application cannot be accessed. Still it is in progress, so let this be finished, then we will do the verification, right? Updated WAF policy. So policy state that if someone is trying to access web application with the IP address mentioned here in the rule, then immediately block that action. In the same way, we can create a custom rule to block, like request if coming with a specific geolocation. So we can match here remote address, right? And multiple rules can be created, right? In case if you want to create multiple conditions, then you can do that. And here like you can put any country here from the list. So the deny or allow, like we have both options here, are just to log the traffic. I hope you understand, like self-explanatory. So let's do a quick verification of custom rule that we have just created. So no code injection attack. Let me go to home and see here. Just a home page even, not accessible here. 403 forbidden. It's just because of the custom rule that we have just created here. So I hope you understand, like it's very much like self-explanatory, and in order to get logs and alerts, this application gateway load balancer should be integrated with log analytic workspace, and log analytic workspace. Of course, on top of that, we add Microsoft Sentinel, that is SIM plus SOAR, right? So if you have built complete, like security operations center in Azure cloud, then definitely there would be log analytic workspace, there would be Sentinel added to log analytic workspace. So simply what we do, we just configure application gateway load balancer firewall to forward logs to log analytic workspace, right? In the diagnostic settings section, we find the option and we do the integration. I will show you in the Sentinel section how we can do that integration. But I hope you understand, like WAF policy or WAF in Azure cloud is very simple, easy to configure, right? Simply we can enable or disable a specific signature. We can change the mode from detection to prevention or prevention to detection. We can create custom rule, right? That's it. We can set the alert here. Nothing much to do for the administrator. Alright, good so far. So that's all about the WAF policy, web application firewall in Azure.